Hey friends, welcome to the channel. I'm Ken Smith, just an old guy having fun with trains. And today, it's time to bring a laundromat to our small town. So we are going to do a full kit review and build on this. Let's get at it. All right, it's time to get into Key's Chinese Laundry. And I've really been looking forward to assembling this particular kit. A little special thanks to Excel Tools, obviously, for supplying us with all of the necessary tools that we need to assemble this kit. Also, BTS Structures for obviously supplying us with the kit for us to assemble and review. And for Type-On Glues for supplying us with the glues needed, as well as Bob Smith Industries for supplying their CCA glues when we need to use those in the kit as well. And speaking of Excel Tools, make sure you check out the link in the description, as well as all of our other supporters. We'll be supplying those links in the description as well. But Excel does a lot of sales if you check out the link that I supply you with, and I get a little support money from them, and you know, just full disclosure there, and that is used to get the things that we need as far as paint and other items that we don't have or aren't able to be supplied for us. Now, that all being said, let's take a good look at this kit as I kind of spread things all out. And you can see there's quite a bit more pieces to this than the other BTS kits that we've done. There's the signage. That's actually really kind of cool. I like that a lot. Obviously our window material, our shade material, and our roofing material. One thing I'd like to point out with BTS is they never scrimp on the roofing material and the window material and the shade material. And I really appreciate that. Honestly, I've actually used some of that leftover material to outfit other manufacturers' kits that either don't supply the stuff or are really pretty skimpy, for lack of a better way of saying it. You'd be surprised at some of the kits I put together, and I'm like, wow, not even a floor. But I digress. So here's all of our parts that you can see right here. Let's take a look at the instructions. Again, BTS is really top shelf when it comes to instructions. I like the fact that they always supply a parts list and that all of the parts are very easily identifiable. And if I turn this around the right way, you can see all of the parts are clearly labeled. I really appreciate that. And the other thing that I just like, being a history buff, is give you a little background. Some of the stuff is actually pretty historically correct. They've based their kits on actual prototype buildings that they have come across. The other thing I really like is that they give you some ideas as far as color, weathering, all of those things that some kits don't supply, or their information is so outdated. Give you a case in point, I was putting together a particular kit. I'm kind of rambling on, but it's worthy to mention this. And they were giving me all of the Flocal colors. Well, Flocal hadn't been around since 2012. Maybe you ought to update your instructions. So if you're a kit manufacturer and you're watching this, hopefully that speaks to you a little bit. So here is the color photos of what this kind of looks like. And you can see, you can get the idea as far as signage goes and where to place those signs. And again, the parts list. So still kind of deciding on what color to paint this yet, but that's the next thing that we need to do before assembly. So I've got to come up with a color scheme. So for the interior floor as well as the exterior trim, I'm using what they call saddle brown, and all I did was really kind of get it up here close so you can see. All I really did was just kind of dilute this a little bit with some water just to make it a little bit thinner, and essentially just kept dry brushing it. And I didn't want the paint to really be too heavy, and so sometimes I find that this actually works really well if I'm wanting to get a particular look and feel. Again, I just added some water really to that. I don't want to add too much water because obviously this is wood and we don't want a whole lot of warping and whatnot. So I'm adding just enough to just really, I'm almost dry brushing at this juncture, and that's really about all I want. I'm okay if it's a little heavy on one side and not so much on the other. Again, using pretty much a dry brush, and I can actually even take just some paper towel that I had setting aside for another project and just wipe some of that off, and you can quickly see that, yeah, that's kind of a nice worn out floor. Gives me just the look that I'm looking for, and that is essentially the same thing that I did with all of the exterior trim that you see there. Just some definite fading and semi-transparent, almost looks like stain, but it's actually watercolor acrylic. And the color that I used for this, here, I'll get you the bottle. Right there, saddle brown. Straight from the bottle, just diluted with a little bit of water. Alright, so this is the paint scheme that I'm going to go with for the laundromat. And this color is actually called Jade, which I thought, hey, Jade kind of works for a Chinese theme. And I really like the color. It's still very flat, and yet if you can see right here, if we hold up the trim pieces, I think that's a real nice contrast. It's not a heavy contrast, but it's just enough to where really the paint scheme flows together. So I'm really excited about that. So it's time to start putting it together. All right, we have our building assembled, which is kind of the next step in the process. And I went ahead and just put a light dusting of spray paint, because remember we did a rattle can, just to kind of help blend in some of the darker edges. And yeah, and so that is together. Now it's time to work on the floor. Okay, so we have our floor done. Now remember that the lean-to does not have a floor. It doesn't come with it. That's okay, because I don't plan on putting an interior in here anyway. But we do have the floor here, and the floor and the porch have outlines on the base to kind of show you where these two components go. But what I did is I just made sure before I glued this in place that this was going to fit nice and flush, and now we're good. On the underneath there, the kit actually does not include a small piece that goes here. So when you are gluing on these posts, or floor joists I should say, you get this floor joist, this floor joist, this floor joist, two long ones, and a short one here, and then a short one here. So what I did was I just took a piece of sprue because I didn't like the gap that was in there. Just took a piece of the sprue that I saved and glued that right there. Yes, I know it doesn't quite match, but you get the idea. If you're looking at it, there's a kind of an even space now that goes all the way across. So that's just a little tech tip, if you will, for kind of putting on the floor joist. It's time to go ahead and make our roll paper or tar paper roof. Now we have two roof sections. You can see that we have more than enough paper that comes in the kit, which I really am grateful for. And because invariably I'm going to use that somewhere else. The thing that I like doing, I just line this up on my Excel cutting mat. I use my Excel straight edge so that I have a nice straight edge, like you see right there. And then I take my pencil and just lightly draw a line right across here. And I'll just draw one so you get the general idea. Use a pencil because this will be very easy to cover. You see that line right there, and that's the width of our paper. And actually, if you look at the roofing material, if I were to fold this over, I literally only need a half a sheet, maybe a little bit more. And so I have all of this left over that I can use on a scratch build project. But that's literally how I do my roof, and then I go ahead and just use a pair of scissors, cut right across that line, and I have a nice straight edge that's roughly about the correct width of the roll paper, tar paper roof. One thing I want to point out on the roof, you see these little lines that are drawn right there. All right, so this is the underneath roof portion because these are markers for your roof rafters. So it's really important when it comes time for you to put your roof on, your tar paper roof, that you're putting it on this side. And the same holds true if we look at the lean-to. You'll see our markers right there as well. So just remember, there is a top and a bottom to the roof. I like marking the top just like you see right there. I do that just because I have short memory and I want to make sure that I'm not covering up the side that has all the markings for the roof rafters. When I went to fit the body onto the floor, I noticed that the body had a slight overhang. Now I don't have this glued down, but I'm going to pick it up and see if you can see that slight overhang. There, let me do it this way. All right, do you see that slight overhang? Kind of move it back a little bit. It's ever so slight. So what I ended up doing, when I pull this off, you'll be able to see it a little clearer. I ended up gluing a small piece of the wood sprue right here. And since it's already somewhat stained, and then there's kind of a little better view, side view, you can kind of see that sticking out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sand down this edge until it is flush with the structure itself. I used my Excel sanding stick to just gently keep sanding it down. So if we look at a side profile now, that looks much better. And we'll just slap a little stain on there and it should be just fine. For stain or touch-up, this is actually what I used, and I'll show you the finished product. Blended it right in there just nice. Very pleased with how that came out. We could probably even put a little bit more on that side there because that's what I actually did use. And I might end up doing that just to kind of blend it in even further, but that came out nice. I'm very pleased with that. Again, using my Prismacolor sticks. Remember, they have two different tips on the sticks, on those stain sticks. They're actually frame markers, kind of touch-up frame markers. But I actually used it right here. And if you look closely, I actually drew in, just with a pencil, I drew in some floor lines. So if you actually wanted to finish the interior, that's an option for you. I was playing with my dog, and my dog got me. I got a golden retriever, so it's not like it's a vicious dog or anything like that. We were just horsing around, and he got me. But anyhow, enough of that. I went ahead, got the roof section done. Again, I used the stain marker just so that I can color the underneath so that you don't see it. And I also did the same thing for our back porch that goes there. I got all our trim molding installed. That's looking really sharp. Really like how that came out. Again, just follow the instructions. You know, if you've done one of these kits or a couple of these kits, they all pretty much go together the same way. Now, the main roof, I had a problem. Right after I glued our tar paper on, I happened to notice that it started warping something crazy. So I grabbed my big box paint stick that was handy and about the right dimensions that I wanted to kind of secure this in place. And so this is actually going to be glued on the inside. That's kind of clamped there now just to give it a nice flat surface. And I don't damage the paper that I've already glued on. And when that dries, looks like our roof is going to be nice and straight, so I won't have to worry about that. But have a paint stick handy in case you need one. You never know. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and just try to turn this around. I've got my camera pretty focused on everything. Just kind of give you an idea of how things are starting to look. We've got our building together. We've got our roof glued in place. We don't have the building glued to the floor yet. Here's the back end, and you can just kind of see all of that really nice roof detail and rafter detail. Very excited how this is coming along. We got our windows and doors obviously in. So now it's time to start putting on some signs and getting some weathering done. Okay, here's the finished model. Now, the first thing I want to point out is right here at the windows and the doors. Now, you'll notice that, I'll use this as a pointer, the windows have kind of a speckle look to it. So what I wanted to achieve here, and so I didn't want to put in curtains with these, is it's a laundromat. So I kind of wanted to give the illusion that a lot of moisture in there, a lot of steam. And so what I ended up doing was I held a rattle can of some Krylon matte flat literally about 2 feet away, and I flipped this up on its side or on its back so it was kind of facing up, and I gave this a quick spray across, and it gave me this speckled look. And I really like how that came out because it kind of gives the illusion of some moisture that is in there. And you can see my wash as I turn this around. This is the wash that I ended up doing, and you saw that in the video. There's a side profile of it. Here's the back, and I like how that came out. Looks really rustic, and you can also see the roof line here where I've got kind of the roof edges just kind of curled up. I kind of picked up on that, and our smokestack glued in place. Here is another side elevation view. And again, just picking up the corners of the roofing material, kind of sliding our hobby knife underneath the different layers and just kind of lifting that all up. And then over here, you'll notice we got some light washes on the signs. Again, you can kind of see how those washes came out. So let me flip this up on its side so you can see the roof. And there is the top portion of the roof. Again, did a little bit of chalk and then just dusted that. Actually, what I did was I actually brushed on some dull coat with just a brush, and that created the streaks and also gave the effect on the roof. So there's our finished model. Friends, I sure hope you picked that kit up. It's excellent. I recommend you doing so. Wonderful kit. Was a fun build to do. And as you can see, we've got scenery happening here. That's right. We have been working diligently. We almost have 1/3 of this entire section done. So just giving you a little spoiler alert that our town of Destitute, which is kind of our high-end city, if you will, lots of bricks buildings and things of that nature. Almost all of those buildings are done. I just built things real rapidly so that we could start shooting video of trains operating. And this section of the layout is almost all done to at least a place where filming and stuff like that will look really nice. We still have trees to make and all those things, and we'll be doing videos on the trees for sure. But really happy with the progress. So give us a like and subscribe. You're going to want to follow us. We're getting things done on the Barely Making It Railroad. Have a wonderful day, and you all be blessed.